see in the chat. Okay, cool. You guys can see my screen. Excellent. That's good to know. All right. So guys, let's quickly go to RDS. Let's go to RDS and create a database. Okay, I'm very sure many of you know how to do this now, right? Because we've done this in the previous weeks. If you're just joining us for the first time, don't worry. I'll share the links to the previous sessions. We haven't gone far. This is just week 8 or 9. Week 9. Okay. So follow those videos and you should be able to catch up fine with us. Okay, let's go ahead and create a database, guys. The application we want to host today is the same one we hosted before, but now we're going to use the VPC that we created ourselves, okay, from last class. All right, so let's go ahead and go to dashboard, or I think it's already on the dashboard. Don't click on this create database. This will take you to create Aurora database. Click on databases right here on the left. Okay, go ahead and click on databases on the left. And again, what we're doing today, you've been given a task to your developers have just built a PHP MySQL application that you guys need to like put out there for your end users, your customers, and now you have been given the task to put it in the custom VPC that you created for your company. Okay. All right, so click on databases there and then click on create database. Okay, click on create database. Okay, click on create database, and then we want to choose MySQL. Okay, I'm gonna choose MySQL. And again, guys, MySQL and MariaSQL, they work together in such a way that they're compatible, right? Only some minor differences here and there, but they're compatible. Okay. The actual application uses MySQL, but I know what we installed in our script here. I know we installed MariaDB, but it's okay. We just need to make sure we choose MySQL here. If we choose MariaDB here, for some reason, there's some things that's just not gonna work right. But if I wanted to do, I could like install MySQL here as well. But don't worry again, guys. Just leave this BashScript the way it is. MariaDB will work. If you know how to put MySQL here, go ahead and do that. I just haven't had time to do that. I'm leaving it just as I found it on the AWS website for installing the LAMP stack. Don't worry what a LAMP stack is. It just means you have Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. But here we're installing MariaDB and then some other things that AWS wants us to install. At the end of the day, guys, yes, this what is going to be installed on our machine is MariaDB, but the database we really want to create is MySQL because that's what the application is written in. Okay. And don't worry if that confused you a little bit. All right, it's not a big deal. Just note that MySQL and MariaDB they can both either can work with each other. Okay. What's the word? Backward compatibility. Right? It's not like they're the same product. They're different products, but they work the same. Is it compatible the right? Well, someone help me out here. Is compatible the right word I'm trying to say here? Anyone can help me in the chat. Is that the right word? Like they can think of them as the same. Right, if you have MariaDB and MySQL and you're using MySQL or MariaDB, it'll work fine. All right, moving on, enough of that. All right, choose free tier as usual. Go ahead and choose free tier. Let's just make sure we're choosing MySQL, choose free tier. What else? Let's give it this a bit a name. Let's call it site with DB. Okay, site with DB database. Or let's just leave it as site with DB. All right, admin, and then put a password here. Leave this as admin. Okay, let's leave this as admin. Okay, and then let's change this to what's it called? Let's change this to what you want to put there. Okay, so put a password that you want there. Okay. And what else here? Please make sure you remember these passwords. Remember, I emphasized that the last time we did this. Please make sure that you put this you remember this password that you put in there. And then what else here? We're not going to enable storage auto scaling. 20 gig is fine. This is not like production where we expect the database to grow. So we're not going to enable storage auto scaling. Of course, it don't allow us to choose multi-easy because this is not, we chose a free tier and not a production database. For the production, it allows us, it will create another database somewhere else that will, be in sync with the primary database. So that case, if the primary database fails, in this case we're having one. So if this fails, the other one will kick in. But we're not able to have that other one kick in here because we're not using multi-AZ. But multi-AZ again is for production environments. Okay, so really cool feature there. VPC, choose the custom VPC we created last class. Okay, and as you can see here, I put test VPC -old, and I want to be open with you guys here and tell you guys something. Okay, that VPC I tested with this setup, and it didn't work for some reason. My custom VPC from last class, I did a lot of troubleshooting, and it just wouldn't make my web server connect to the internet. I don't know why. And then I just created another custom VPC. I removed the NAT gateway like we did last class and all that, and I launched an instance and it works. So I don't know why my custom VPC from last class is not working. Keep yours. Yours might work. It might just be something with, I don't know, maybe someone hacked into my VPC and broke something inside of it. Just kidding. I'm sure. I hope that's not what happened. But I created another one, so I called it test VPC2. So that's my custom VPC. Again, I only have one public subnet and one private subnet. Okay, just like you guys had it last class. All right. And then of course I put it. I didn't delete it so I can troubleshoot it more later and see why is that happening. Although it's in a public subnet and it's getting a public IP, but I'm using a new custom VPC that I created, which wasn't giving me that issue. Okay. All right. DB Subnet Group. DB Subnet Group. So in this case, for this example, what I want us to do now is actually let's take a pause, because what I want us to do today is put this database in a private subnet, right? Let's put this database in a private subnet. So that's one thing we should do first. Almost forgot that. Well, let's create subnet groups, right? And what a subnet group is when AWS creates these databases for you, okay? When AWS creates this database for you, it'll start you giving them IPs from this subnet group, right? Now, AWS recommends that you have at least 2 subnets in 2 availability zones where it can pick this IPs from. Okay, so that's what a subnet group is. So your subnet group, just think of it as containing what? Private subnets that you want AWS to use to assign IPs to the instances. All right, guys, so here's what we want to do. Let's go ahead and click on, right click here, right click AWS, open link in new tab. Let's go and do that. Let's create 2 subnets now. Okay, let's create 2 subnets. Let's go to VPC. Let's go to VPC. Okay, we'll have to restart that RDS thing again. Let's go to VPC. Let's go ahead and click on subnets. Okay, go ahead and click on subnets. Let me not confuse you guys. Let me show you let me filter that by, so I have only 2 subnets. Okay, and think of this as you also having 2 subnets from last class. Okay, I have one public and one private. Do you guys have one public and one private from last class? Any 5? Give me some 5s in there. In the chat, let's go. From your custom VPC from last class, I have one private and I have one public. Anybody? Okay, very good. Very good. All right, now let's create an additional private subnet. So that way we have 2 private subnets. Let me see, which AZ is this one in? It's in AZ1A. So I have mine in AZ1A. Okay, I have mine in AZ1A. I'm going to create another private subnet now, guys. I'm going to create another private subnet now. I'm going to click on create subnet. Okay, I'm going to create subnet. I'm going to choose VPC to be my test VPC. So that's your custom VPC. Okay, I'm going to call this T2. I'm just using T2 to say my custom VPC. Okay, you can use any letter you want. Okay, T2 I'm just using here when I see it in the console I can say, oh, this is my custom VPC. So I don't know why I use the T, but I started with T already. So T2, let me see, I can see here private subnets. What did I have earlier? Let me just see the name so I don't worry about what I'm doing. I just want to see the names I was giving them. T2 filter by that. So okay, let me just copy this and just put the number 2. Control C. I can close that. All right, where is it? Okay, let me just do this and just change this to 2. All right, availability zone, that was in 1A. I'll put this in 1B. Okay, so if your first private subnet was in 1C, then choose 1D maybe. Okay, let me put this in 1B. Okay, and then what else? Okay, so now my other VPCs are already using, gosh, I have to do this again. Let me open a new tab. I think I'm just going to leave that other tab open just to subnets, T2, filter by T2. Okay, so 0, 1, 0 and 1. Okay, so this is on 1 and this is on 0. Who can tell me what the next one should be? So I'm creating a new subnet now, right, guys? I'm creating a new subnet now. What should my next subnet be? What should my next subnet ID be? Someone help me out. 3, very good. 3 or 2? 3 or 2? 2, there you go. Yep, 2. All right, so I'm just gonna copy this. Let me just copy this and just change it to 2. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this and let me change this to 2. Okay, remember I showed you guys how to find that out last class. All right, using that Site 24 website I showed you. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and click on create subnet. Okay, very good. So I have 2 private subnets and 2 AZs. Now let's go back to that RDS thing. I'm gonna cancel the one we're creating before. Let's create a subnet group first. Okay, let's create a subnet group first to put our databases in a private subnet. Okay, now cancel that RDS we were creating. Go ahead and click on subnet groups on the left here. Go ahead and click on subnet groups. Okay, now this was a subnet group from yesterday. Let me delete that. All right, guys. Okay, so it always comes with a default subnet group. Now, let's click on create subnet group. Okay, click on create subnet group. Let me go back again, guys, so you can see that. Okay, we're in subnet groups on the left here in the RDS console, subnet groups. Click on create DB subnet group. Okay, let's call this DB subnet group private. No, that's too much. Private DB subnet group. That's fine. Description, I'm just going to use the same thing. At least I can read this. Private DB subnet group. Wrong spelling. Again, guys, you guys can use any name, but I like to make it in a way that I can, know exactly what I created that for. What VPC? My test VPC 2, right? Yep. Okay, so that will be your custom VPC from last class. What else? Yes, it's been recorded. Yes. What else? Availability zone. I'm gonna choose, where do I have those private subnets? I have one in 1A, right? And I have one, let me see. So in 1A, choose the private subnet in 1A. That will be this one, right? We can also look. Okay, here it's telling us to add subnets to this DB subnet group. And remember, we only want to add our private subnets. We only want to add our private subnet to this DB subnet group. And again, this DB subnet group, again, guys, I know it might be a little confusing. It's just a way for RDS to say, where should I put this? Which subnets am I putting these databases that I'm creating and managing for you? Which subnets am I putting them in? Is it a subnet that can access the internet or a subnet that cannot access the internet? So that's why you need to create a subnet group, right? I remember now that we're creating a subnet group, we're going to choose what subnet should be in there. And those are going to be our private subnets that do not have internet access. Okay? All right, so let's go and look. That's why I wanted to have this open. Where is it? Yeah, here. Let me just close this one. I wanted to have this open. Let me refresh. This should show my other bit. Yeah. So now I have, remember we have now 2 private subnets and just 1 public subnet. That's fine. All right, now these 2 subnets is what we want to add to that DB subnet group. Okay, so let's see. The first one is in for me, 1A and 1B. Okay. So for 1A, I have 11DC as my private. So for 1A, 11, so this one is my private subnet. How did I know, guys? Don't get confused, guys. Right here, private subnet 1, okay? 11DC, ends with 11DC. I go to the availability, to the AZ where it's in. How do you know the AZ? Right here. 1A and 1B. I have two private subnets, one in 1A and one in 1B. So yours might be 1 in 1C or whatever number you had. Just make sure you choose another AZ when you created the second one, okay? All right, guys. So 11DC, so this is fine. 11DC, that's good. Click out of the box, okay? I want to add another one in 1B, okay? I could have checked both earlier, but that's fine. Just check it again. Let's just go, in a way that will make it easier for you to, so I can check both earlier, but I'm just choosing them one by one. So now the second one is, now what's the second one in 1B? What does it end with? The second one in 1B. Which one is in 1B? The bottom one, right? Yes, the bottom one is in 1B. What does it end with? A5A7. So let's go. A5A7. I chose 1B here as where my next subnet is in. Yeah, there it is. A5A7. It shows me here. 1B. I have A5A7. Yep. I wish they put out the names actually, so that way it's easier. But as you can see, it's just only showing me the code, right? The subnet ID. It's not showing me like the name. It would have been easier instead of me having a tab open here to try to see which one is my private, which is my public. But yeah, you can just go back and look that way. So it won't be this one. I know definitely A5A7 is my private subnet too. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and check outside the box that yes, this is the one we want. Okay, so now we have 11DC and yep, and both are in 1A and 1B. All right, cool. Now let's go ahead and click on create, guys. Let's go ahead and click on create. Type 9 if you're with me so far. Type 9. I just need 2 people. 9 if you're with me so far. One more person. Please tell me you're with me. Okay, good. All right, guys. Let's go now and create the database again. So now click on databases on the top. Click on databases on the top. Let's go ahead and create database again. Go ahead and click database again. I'm just going to close this prompt. Okay. All right. Now choose MySQL standard create, MySQL free tier, site with DB, admin, password. Okay. What else? Leave that as default. T2 micro, because that's the free tier one for databases as well. Storage, I'm not gonna auto scale my storage. Default VPC, no. Our custom VPC, right? This is the key part of what we're doing today, using our custom VPC. Okay. Now that we chose that, private DB subnet group, this was automatically checked. Okay, very good. It didn't default to our default subnet group. It's choosing the one that we created, private DB subnet group. Okay, and then here I'm going to leave it as, actually I want to change this. Let's leave it as no. In this case, remember, if you do this, you cannot use something like Mysql Workbench to try to remote into this machine. Okay, you'd have to use something from inside of your VPC, of this VPC, if you want to like access the database. Okay, so anybody that needs to access the database needs to be in what? In this VPC. So be careful when you do this. But here's what I want to do, because I want to be able to use Mysql Workbench from my computer that is not inside of the VPC. I'm going to choose yes. Guys, in production environment, in your own company, you don't choose yes. Okay? But you can choose it if if you've created your security groups in a way that it's only allowing access to what you trust, right? Security groups within your environment that you trust. But in this case, guys, I'm going to do yes. So if we need to troubleshoot later on, we can access that database from outside the VPC. Okay. So here I'm going to choose yes for public access. Yes. Okay, and then VPC security group. Leave it as default for now. Okay, leave it as default for now. This VPC, we don't have the database security group yet or the web server security group yet. So leave it as default for now. We're going to create those and then attach it later on. Okay, leave it as default for now. Availability zone preference, let's choose 1A. Okay, we know we have a private subnet in there from the subnet group. So let's just choose 1A in there. Okay, additional configuration, leave that as default. Leave that as that. Don't, if you expand this, do not put anything in here. Do not put anything in there. Okay, just leave all of those. Enable automatic backups. This is just, you know, this is not like real production environment, but if you want to do that in real production environment, go ahead and just check that, right? Easy way to have backups. Check this log boxes right here. Check those. Okay, check those. Okay, and then for this, just leave that. Doesn't really matter for us. Enable automatic version upgrade. Maintenance window, no preference. We don't really care at this point, right? Deletion protection, don't check that. If you would delete the database, really want to delete it. Okay, now let's go ahead and click on create database. Did I put my password for the admin? Where is it? Yeah, please make sure, just want to make sure again, I put something that I know, that I can remember. Okay, all right. And then go ahead and click on create database. Yeah, I did public access, yes. I know I did public access, yes. All right, guys, let's go and create security groups for our new VPC. I know you guys will, now if we go to this VPC console here, okay, you guys are gonna see security groups from there. But those are security groups that we were creating from our what? For our default VPC. For this custom VPC now, remember, security groups do not, you know, they don't cross over to VPCs. So you have to create new security groups for this custom VPC. I believe we created one last week, I'm not sure, but hey, let's go now. This is what I want us to do. Let's go to security groups. How did I get here? I know some of you might be confused by that. Go back to your AWS console. Just leave your RDS tab open, guys. Open a new tab. Open a new tab. And then go ahead and go to VPC. Go ahead and go to VPC and then go to security groups. Okay, go to security groups on the left. Security groups on the left. Okay. Now, what I want us to do now is create new subnets, new security groups. Don't worry about these security groups. Again, guys, these are not from our current VPC. Okay, these are not from our current VPC. These are from like the default VPC. Okay, these are from the default VPC. Let's create a new security group. I'm going to click on create security group on the left. I'm going to put here T2. Okay, to say that I'm using my custom VPC. Okay, I know using T here is a little confusing, but I already started with that. Again, I'm just putting T2 to say that this security group is part of my custom VPC. Okay, so T2, and then I'm going to say web server, T2 web server SG security group. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put the same thing here. And then the VPC to go in is my custom VPC. Okay, my custom VPC is what I'm creating this database, this security group for. And then let me add a rule here. Okay, I'm gonna say for my web server, what should they be allowing? In this case, we're not using load balancers. Okay, so we're gonna allow traffic to our web servers from the world. Okay, or to make it secure, let's do our own IPs. Okay, I'll say allow HTTP, right? We want to say allow HTTP and to my IP, and then add another rule, HTTPS my IP. Okay, of course we could do to the whole world here, but to just keep it a little secure, we do this to our own IPs. Okay, so this is for our web server security group. This is for our web server security group. Go ahead and click on create security group. Okay, go ahead and click on create security group. All right, now let's create the database security group. Okay, let's create a database security group. Let's go ahead now again. Are we still in security groups? Security groups again. Go ahead and click on create security group. Okay, I'm gonna choose here again T2, but I'm gonna say DB security group. Okay, copy that as my description as well. Okay, it's gonna be in my custom VPC. What should it allow? It should allow, let's add a rule, allow MySQL. Okay, allow MySQL right here, allow MySQL. Okay, from our web server security group. Okay, from our web server security group. So go ahead and click on this. From our web server security group, go ahead and click on that. Okay, now go ahead and click on save. Remember, we never touch outbound. Okay, never touch outbound. Our DB security group, we want it to be secure in a way that it's only allowing connection from the web server security group. So any machine that you launch in the web server security group can talk to the database. Okay, any machine can talk to the database. Okay, but here's what I want us to do, guys. Here's what I want us to do, because we're going to have to run a script when we create the database. We're going to have to run a script to remember the script I showed you guys last time that our developer says run this script on the database for the first time. Okay, because we need to do that, let's allow our own machine. Okay, let's allow our own machine. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say all traffic to my IP. Okay, just to allow all of the MySQL and HTTP that needs to be used to talk to the database. Okay, we're only talking on 306, but do this. Okay, just do this for this database. And what else? So go ahead and click on create security group. Okay, go ahead and click on security group. Click on create security group. This is our DB security group. All right. What else now? What else now? Our database is creating. Let's see, is it created? It is still creating. Anybody has their databases created yet? All right. Now, one thing I want us to do here is let's go back to our security groups. Let's go back to our security groups. Okay, let's put T2 here. I'm gonna put T2 here so it will just show me all my security groups. So I'm just gonna do the same thing here. Just put this here. Look at what I'm doing, guys. So I can always see that there as well. Okay, although it's here as the name, but here on the name, it doesn't usually, unless you add it as a tag. So go ahead and paste that as well. So now I can just see from here as well that this is my DB security group and this is my web server security group. All right. Now I want us to change the security group for our database to use this one that is just allowing connections from the web server security group. Okay, and of course, and us as well, from our IP, from our own IP. Let me see. I know this has kind of been a little bit so far, a little bit more than you were used to. Okay, but don't worry, guys. Again, you can watch this video over and over again to first time. Remember, I keep telling you guys, I didn't understand these things on the first try. Okay, I know some of you might be confused a little bit. It's okay. Trust me, if you watch the videos, it's going to be fine. Let me get some number 3s in there. If you're following so far, you're still following so far, kind of what I'm doing. Any number 3s in there, or like everybody's lost? Okay, good, good, good. Okay, all right. So is mine still creating? Is it available? Okay. Yeah, it's up. Let me go to databases. DB created. So yeah, status configuring. So it's configuring some log exports now. I think now we can modify. Let me see. Can we modify it now? No, we can't modify it yet. So just click on the database again. Click on the site with DB again, guys. Okay, we can click on modify. So open it. Now again, what I did is successfully created database. Okay, now I have the prompt that it successfully created the database. So let me close this now. Okay, let me close now. Now let me click on site with DB. Okay, click on the database that we created for our new application. Site with DB. Okay, very good. All right, now it's now what else? What else? Okay, status is available. Now let's go ahead and modify, okay? Because we don't want to use our default security group that's allowing traffic from the world, right? Let's go ahead and modify. Go ahead and click on modify. Okay, click on modify, 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 modify. Okay, we want to change the security group to the one that we created. That's only allowing connection from our from whatever is in our web server security group and our own IP. All right. No, we're not changing the password. So yes, you can change your password after. We're not doing that. Where is the security group? Okay, so I want to change this now. Remove it. I'm going to remove default. Okay, I'm going to remove default, and I'm going to put my what? T2DB security group. Okay, I'm going to choose that. Click out. Okay, and that's it. And I'm going to click on continue, and then I'm going to click on apply immediately. Okay, and then now I'm going to click on modify DB instance. Modify DB instance. Okay, it says successfully modified. All right, let's go now to VPC. Click on AWS on the left. Let's go launch the instance now. But now, guys, think about something. Think about something. Now we've just created a new database, right? But now, look, our configuration file, our S3 bucket, where we're going to pull from. Who can tell me quickly? Let me see if someone can remember. What do we need to change in that bucket now? What do we need to change in that bucket? I know someone knows this. What do we need to change in that bucket? If we put this now with this endpoint, very good, SK. Very good. I hope everyone knows what SK means by endpoint. Remember, there's a config file in the code that our developers gave us, to load this website. There's a config file there that's pointing to a what? A database from before. A database from before. So we need to change that, guys. So let's go to our S3 and just update that. Okay, here's how to do that. Let's go to S3. Let's go to S3. Okay, let's go to S3. Site with DB. Okay, because this was going to be pulled onto the Apache folder. So let's change that config file. Let's change this. Okay, I'm going to delete this now. Okay, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. Delete. Okay, I'm going to, this is type permanently delete. So I'm just going to copy that and do permanently delete. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to click on exit up there. I'm going to upload it again. Now, guys, on your computers, guys, you guys should have it. You guys should have it on your computer. Okay, you guys should have, you see my screen right here? You guys should have those files. Remember, on your source code examples, dynamic prod, like we called it, we're just going to add it back, but we're going to edit before we add it back to the bucket. Okay, so now I'm going to edit this. I'm going to edit on the side where you guys cannot see because it's going to have my password in there. Now, let me just show you guys what I need to do. Let me open it with Notepad. Okay, so you guys can know exactly what to do. Open with Notepad. Okay, open with Notepad. Open with Notepad. Right here. Let me 1 second. All right, right here. Where is it? Here's what you need to change. Okay, here's what you need to change. Give it that new one. Give it this new one. Okay, give it this new one. Give it that new one. Where's the file? All right, paste that new one in there. Okay, and that's it. Okay, and make sure your username and your password that you used when you were creating the database are matching. Okay. All right, I'm gonna change my password back. Okay, to make sure it's the right one. Control S, close. Okay, guys. Now my config file is updated. Okay, with the new endpoint. Okay, to the database. There's a new database that we created. Okay, now I'm gonna drag this now and put it here in my bucket. All right, very easy, guys. Put it back in my bucket. Okay, and then I'm gonna click on upload. I'm gonna click on upload. It says it's uploaded. I'm gonna click on exit, and yeah, it's back. Okay, but now it's back with the new endpoint. Give me the number 5. Any 2 people. Give me the number 5 you have following so far. Any 2 people. Adil, Lucky. Okay, good. All right, moving on, guys. All right, fingers crossed. Let's go now to EC2. Guys, again, I must say it might not work, but it's okay. If it doesn't work today, we'll come back next week and troubleshoot. Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out why it's not working. And then by next week, hopefully we'll have an answer. Okay, but let's test and see if we've set up everything correctly, then it should work. But again, I can't guarantee. Okay, this session is all about us learning from each other. Okay, if it doesn't work today, let's go back together and go troubleshoot. Okay, and see if it'll work, and see if any of us can figure it out. All right. Let's see here. Where are we going to? EC2. Let's create the web server now. Let's go and create the web server now. Okay, let's go and create the web server now. So 0 instances running. Let's go and click on instances running. Click on instances running. Okay, now let's go ahead and click on launch instance. Go ahead and click on launch instance. Okay, Amazon Linux AMI. Go ahead and select this. Okay, T2 micro, yes, as we've always done, T2 micro. Okay, go ahead and click on that. Check. All right, what are we changing here, guys? VPC. We're using our custom VPC. Don't forget. Now, this is our web server. We're going to use our custom VPC for this web server. We've already taken care of the database side of things. Okay, now we're only worried about the web server. Let's go back to our diagram from last class. Now we're worried about the web server that we're going to put in a public subnet that, you know, needs to talk to this database in the private subnet. Okay, so where am I? Launch instance. Okay, we're creating the web server. Don't get lost. We're creating the web server. Now, which subnet are we putting this? Help me out, guys. Which subnet are we putting this? Again, I know we discussed last class that yes, you can put your web servers in your private subnet as well, but that's not the practice that I'm using in these sessions for now. And I told you guys, yes, in production, if you really know what you're doing, because you can get into some networking problems when you put your web servers in your public, in your private subnet, and you don't really know what you're doing. What we're doing in this case is, yes, we're gonna put it in a. I guess I've given out the answer. Oh, there you go. You guys know. Okay, good. Public subnet. Okay, I see in the chat you guys already said public subnet. Yes. Remember, we're using our security groups to be that layer of security for us. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Choose public subnet. Okay, choose public subnet. What else? What else? What else? Give it that S3 SSM role. So in case we want to use our session manager to remote into it, instead of using mobile xterm, we can do that because now it will have that role. If you're lost, if you're just joining us for this week, if you're lost, it's okay. Just catch up with the previous weeks, and trust me, you would, you know, it'll be easy to, you know, to follow along next time. But again, still join, you know, still follow. You have the playlist. I'll share with you guys at the end from before for the previous classes. Terminate. When we shut down, we want it to terminate. Okay, what else here? What else here, guys? What else here, guys? Our user data. Okay, now let's copy this. Control C that. Paste it here. Paste it here. Paste it here. Okay, that's our script. And we talked about this before, right? This means when we launch this instance, we don't have to log in and start, you know, doing sudo yum update, you know, doing this. We just put the script in here by using this shebang and this bean bash stuff, right? Now we have a script we can just run. So when this instance launches, we already have everything up and running. Okay. Next, storage. 8 gig is fine for our EBS for this web server. Add tags. Let's call this our. I'm gonna put T2 so I know that this web server is created in my custom VPC. Okay, again, I know, guys, that's weird. I've been using T2 for my custom VPC to make me know that, hey, this subnet or this security group or this web server is using my custom VPC and not any other VPC or my default VPC, okay? Just play along with me, guys. Play along with me. So T2, I'm going to say web server, okay? I'm going to say T2 web server, okay? T2 standing for my custom VPC. All right, now I'm going to click on next. Yes, it will. Don't worry, Alexandra. If you're confused, if you're lost, yes, video. And this is the first time I'm seeing your name. I think you might be new. Yes, I always upload them at the end of the class. So expect the video of today, sometime end of today or tomorrow. Okay. So let's call this. Sorry, let's put this as name. Not. I'm gonna Control X that. Cut that. The tag should be name, and then here should be that. Okay. All right. Moving on. Next. Configure security group. Okay, Select an existing security group. Which one, guys? Tell me quickly in the chat. Which one are we using? Which security group are we using? Which security group are we using? Last one. Very good. Very good. And that's allowing our IP to, talk to it on HTTP and HTTPS. All right, go ahead and click on review and launch. You will not be able to connect to SSH to this instance. It's okay, we can add it later. Okay, go ahead and click on continue. Okay, go ahead and click on launch. Okay, use your key that you have available. Choose I acknowledge. Launch instances. All right, this instance is launching, guys. This instance is launching. I hope it works. We don't have time to troubleshoot. It's 11:44. But again, this is what happens in real life, guys. You do everything, go step by step, check the box on everything, and it just doesn't work. And I did this yesterday with my old VPC. Like I said earlier, it just wasn't working. So I created a new VPC, testing again, but now with a database and a private subnet and all that. So let's see if it'll work. Again, as I said, I always like to wait for the status check. I always like to wait for that status check. It worked for Muhammad. Nice. Nice. Evans. Fingers crossed. Who else? Okay. Pray that mine works as well, okay? Who else? Is it just Muhammad that has tested so far? I'm still waiting to test mine. Who else is tested? And it's Antoine. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Are you saying that it's working for you as well? Are you saying you're able to go to, remember where our homepage is? Don't forget. Remember where our homepage is for this website. It's in /public/index.php. Don't forget that. And Muhammad, I hope that's where you checked as well. Remember, our developers told us, hey, the homepage for this website is /public/index.php. Okay, good. So 2 people have tested and it worked. Let me see. Let me also go ahead and test. How do I test? Let me get my DNS. Let me get that and paste it in a new tab. And then I have to say /public/index.php. Worked! It worked, guys. Who else? Sylvia. Come on. Anybody else? It's just me, Mohammed, and Anton right now. Obafemi, are you here? Jumoke, are you here? Oh, Sylvia, sorry. Don't worry, Sylvia. Just Hiba worked. Okay, good. Sylvia, don't worry. Again, just try it again later on. Okay, take a break. Just go back again. It's just something you missed. Okay. Okay, Evans, it worked. Hiba, it worked. All right. Now, guys, the big part though, the database. Can we write to the database? We haven't tested it. I don't know if Mohammed has tested that. No, I missed out the database security group update. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But again, you can about for me, you can watch the video later on, and you'd I think I missed the outbound rule. Don't touch outbound rule in the security. We only touch the inbound. Again, like I said, always don't touch the outbound. Always leave the outbound the way it is. You always want the outbound to allow traffic. All right. So now I haven't initialized the database with that script yet. Okay. So let me see if I can do that and if it will work. But now in the database security group, let's think this together, guys. For me to be able to run that script that needs to talk to the database and create that test database in that database, that test users in the table, and then in that database, my machine needs to be able to talk to that database. And remember, for the security group for that database, we said yes, allow. We just chose all traffic. Instead of talking, let me just go there. Okay, we said for the security group, I think you can get to security from here as well. Yes. So you can get to security group from 2 places, from EC2 and from VPC. So now we're in security groups. Let me just put T2 so it just shows me all my thing from my custom. So for the database, I know we said all traffic. Yes, right there. We said all traffic, allow my IP. So that means if I run that script, it should work. If I run the script that we're told that, hey, make sure you initialize, run this script so it will create the table that is needed in that database. Before you start, making this website public, make sure you run that script first. And that script is in install. I can also show you in here. Here, we want to run this script first that will create the table that is needed for this database to plug in whatever information it gets from this front end. Okay. Install.php. I have a strong feeling this won't work. Let me think. You cannot talk to the database. I'm having connection problems at the moment. I'll check properly again later. Yeah, we deleted the NAT gateway. But we said yes when we created the database. We said yes to allow public access, right? So even though we allow public access, as we're creating the database is in a private subnet. So it doesn't get a public IP. Are you following? So it doesn't get a public IP. So that way we cannot talk to it. And only the instances, and if we run this from outside, because if we run this script now, we're running it from outside the VPC. We're running it from outside the VPC, and the database does not have a does not have a public IP assigned to it, because it's in a private subnet. There's a workaround, but I'm sure this will not work. Why did I say I'm sure it will not work? It actually worked. Let me think again. Okay, I said public accessibility, yes. So this is probably why. And then the security group. Guys, it's a good learning for me. I thought it wouldn't work, but it looks like I can talk to my database because of this. Right? Instead of, I said yes, I allow connection from outside, right? And I trusted my IP, right, to it. And I added it. The database security group is using a private subnet. It's using a private subnet, right? And it's allowing connection from my own IP, right, to talk to it on any port. So MySQL, HTTP, and HTTPS. So now it says database and table users created successfully. Mustafa, let me see. What did you say? Yeah, I was thinking, do I need to create a NAT gateway? But I don't need to create a NAT gateway because that's about the database talking to outside. Here, we were running that script to run something on the database, right? And
is this install PHP running from the web server?
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't catch that.
I mean, this install the PHP, this code residing in web server, right?
The code is residing in the web server, yes.
So it's actually SQL from the web server environment. Web server has the connectivity to the private subnet, and web server open to whatever HTTP traffic.
Yes, and then from the web server now we're running this code.
We kick off.
Yeah.
Kick off from browser, but
yes.
When you actually install is from the web server to
initiate
the request to the backend database.
Who's this? What's your name?
Ronnie.
Oh, I remember you. Messages on LinkedIn. Good. That's the idea. Now that's where I'm making. So this call, I think this, Ronnie, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what you're trying to say, and it makes complete sense now. Okay, and here it is. This call to run this script on the database. The database is looking at this is coming from the web server, right? Install.php is a file inside of my configuration in the web server. So when I initialize this and it needs to run this on the database, it's going to allow. Why, guys? Because the database security group allows the web server security group that's all inside of the same VPC. Okay, so that's why this install.php is running from the web server. It's been kicked off from the. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? So the way I was thinking of it before is I'm using a completely outside computer to run the script directly on the database, but that's not what's happening. I'm not running the script directly on the database. I am going through my what? My web server. And my web server security group, my database security groups, is allowing my web server security group to talk to it. Okay, so that's why I can run this install.php that resides on my what? On my web server. Does that make, okay, Hiba said yes. Anybody else? Does that make sense? I know that might be a little confusing because you see, from me again, it was a little confusing for me, but I'm glad, coming together again, learning together, guys. We understand something today again, okay? Sure. All right, Mustafa, yes. Okay, good. Ronnie, thanks for that great input. That also clarified a lot of things. I was thinking of it in another direction. So yes, it should work. Why? Because I'm running this script. I'm asking to run this script via my what? Via my web server, right, on the database. Okay, Ronnie, was that what you were trying to get at?
That's right. On the other hand, if let's say you have a SQL Workbench, you try to connect it to the MySQL database, it won't work.
It won't work.
Yeah.
yeah.
Even though you have the security group open. But the CSAT is private subnet.
It won't work. Yes.
Open to any other network.
Very good, Ronnie. Very good. All right, and again, guys, if I'm going to use MySQL Workbench, like Ronnie said, MySQL Workbench is using my own network at home. Okay, it's not inside of the VPC that the web server is in, that the database is in. Okay, I hope you guys understand that. Very careful, guys. If I use MySQL Workbench, which is a third-party tool from outside, okay, and I try to connect directly to the database, it will not work because the database, one, is in a private subnet. It doesn't have a public IP that you can use to talk to it. So whatever communication it is having with the web server, it's using internal private IPs. Like I said last time, when you create an EC2 instance, you get a public and a private IP. And remember, everything within the VPC, they're family. They can talk to each other. Okay? Using what? Using private IPs. If you want external talking, to whatever is in there, maybe to your databases or your web servers, then you need to make sure they have public IPs. But in this case, our database server is more secure. It can't get public IP. Why? Because we didn't give it a subnet that has a public IP. We said only use our what? Our private subnets. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I would have tested. I do have MySQL Workbench. In fact, let me tell you guys this now. I want you guys to download MySQL Workbench. Okay, go ahead and download MySQL Workbench. I already have it on my computer. At some point, I think it'll be good to just show you guys how you can just directly talk to your database if you want to, and test things out. Usually, database admins have third-party tools they just use to directly connect to the database. All of our setup so far, it's been web server that can talk to the database. But in other cases, for some type of troubleshooting, you might need to use a third-party tool like MySQL Workbench or SQL Pro, something like that, to talk to your database. And that way, you would need to make sure that that database has a public IP that you can use to talk to it, or you can launch a what? Here's another thing, guys. And I know some of you might not quite catch this, but some of you that are advanced, right? This will make sense. If I want to use MySQL Workbench, guys, from outside to this database right now, it will not work. Now, here's what I can do. I can launch a Windows instance, not a Linux instance. If you know how to, I can use a Linux instance as well. I can launch a Linux instance, but again, in my Linux, I won't be able to use something like MySQL Workbench. MySQL Workbench is a graphical. Let me just show you guys that for now. You guys are learning a lot. Oh my god. Here, let me show you guys something. MySQL Workbench. MySQL Workbench. So here, if I can connect, I can create a connection to my database directly. I'll just give it the endpoint and all that, and you guys can see I can run SQL queries, I can create tables and all that. But it won't work now. Again, you guys know why, because my database isn't using private subnets. Here's what I'm trying to get at, right? Using this will not work. But guess what? I can launch an instance. Inside of where? Someone tell me in the chat. I can launch an instance inside of my what? Inside of my custom VPC. Okay, I can launch an instance inside of my custom VPC where my database is. The same network. Okay, now from that instance, I can now talk to the database. Okay, this is just like what the web server is doing. Now, if you want to use things like Mysql Workbench, right? If you need something like this, then launch a Windows instance inside of the VPC that the database security group is part of. Okay, database subnet is part of, right? Launch a Windows workstation. Why? Now because that Windows workstation is going to be part of your VPC, and then now you can install Mysql Workbench inside of there, and then it will work. But if I do it from outside, from my own computer, again, guys, it will not work. This is a really great troubleshooting headache you guys we just solved today, right? So think about that, and think about the consequences, which are good consequences, of putting your databases in a private subnet. As you can see, I had to think through, and then through the help of Ronnie, it just made things even more clearer for me, and also I hope for you, all of you as well. So great contribution there, Ronnie. Again, guys, it's not to come here and claim that I'm perfect or anything. These are things that happen in real life. Okay, you will need to use Stack Overflow, Google, and find out what's broken. Why is it not working? And I hope you guys understand. Right? And by saying I hope you guys understand, type 9 if all of this made sense today, right? With Ronnie's, suggestion about very good. Okay, now I'm happy. I see a lot of 9s in there. I'm glad it makes sense. Okay. Again, guys, very important. I cannot use this to try to connect to my database. It will not work because it is going to be using my own home network and not the VPC network. Okay, guys, career Q&A. Floor open for only 2 questions. Good thing we finished on time today. We finished exactly 12 o'clock. But this was fun, guys. Who thinks this was fun? Tell me in the chat. Who thinks this was fun? Including troubleshooting is the best part of things, right? When you do things and it just works 100%, it's not all that fun. But when things break and you have to think through and fix it, it makes sense. So yeah, I think it was fun learning moment for all of us. Great job, guys. Thanks for joining. Floor is open for 2 questions only. Let's go. First person, unmute.
I have a question.
Okay, this is Ronnie, right?
Yeah, or suggestion. Is it possible to export the CloudFormation template? That will be quick. I may not even need to watch through the 1 hour video. I will be able to reproduce all the results. Right, Ronnie. You could share that.
Yeah. So Ronnie's taking us to another level in this case. So here's what Ronnie's asking. This CloudFormation might be too advanced for other people to understand. So I think Ronnie is an advanced user here. Everything can be scripted, right? In what is called infrastructure as code. So if I give you guys that code, it'll be easy for you to just deploy and you have everything set up. So Ronnie, no, I don't have a CloudFormation template. Everything I've always been building is by hand. So that way we get to see how you do things in the console and create them. So Ronnie, sorry. If you want to create everything again, you have to watch the video. Does that answer your question? I don't have a CloudFormation template for this. It's all by hand.
I think AWS have a feature you can generate the.
Yeah, it's still in beta.
Still in beta.
It's still in beta. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking, hey, what if I set up my environment and everything's working? Can I just create a CloudFormation template from all of that? They have something like that, Ronnie. They do, but it's been in beta for a long time, right? Because I can understand that must be difficult for the developers to do, but I think they're still working on it, but they have a beta version that actually works to some extent. It really, really works, right? But they're not saying it's a complete solution yet, right? So you can test it out and see, but I'm not gonna go through all that because in real life, only enterprises that really know what they're doing use CloudFormation templates, right? Or companies that are building SaaS applications, right? That they just deploy into different customer environments, the CloudFormation template. But for small businesses, for startups, that are just having 2 web servers, 3 database servers, they can continue to do things by hand because it's just about running their own single application or 2 applications here and there that they're using to sell their stuff online or, to run some applications and things like that. But CloudFormation, very great. CloudFormation, for those of you that know Terraform, It's AWS version of Terraform, right? So infrastructure as code. Instead of like going to create EC2 instance in the console, creating the S3 bucket, we can just write everything in the template. And when we run that, when we create a stack from the template, it'll create everything for us. Security group, EC2, VPC, all that. It'll create it from that template that we give it. But again, that's advanced. Don't worry about that, guys. Now, hopefully at some point in the future, we'll get to that. But for now, glad everything worked. But hey, guys, we haven't finished testing. Okay, so this worked. Let's go back to our homepage. Let's see if we can actually write to the database, right? Let's not skip that. I'll take one more question. I remember I have one more question. I have one more. Just give me 1 second, guys. Index.php. Let me just put some random data in there. Mukhtar, Kabir, email, age 45, or age 55. Man, I'm old. Virginia, submit. Okay, our web server can write to our database server. Okay, our web server can write to our database server. All right, guys. One more. Open the Evans. It's okay. You can unmute and ask. I see you typed it in already, but go ahead and share it. Unmute and ask. Correct question, please. Would you like to tell us which certs you want to get in this new year? God, I remember you once mentioned DevOps Pro. Oh, okay. That's all. Okay, never mind. You don't have to unmute. Yes. I'm working on getting my DevOps Pro. Okay, I'm working on getting my DevOps Pro. So yes, hopefully sometime soon I'll share that good news with all of you that I have passed my DevOps Pro. Yeah, fingers crossed. Pray for me that I get it on my first attempt. Okay. Any other questions before we go? Okay, I think I can take one more because I didn't go past up to 15 minutes today. If there's no questions, I'm gonna end the call in 1 minute. Any question? Unmute. Think. Any career-related question? Walaikum salam. Who's this?
It's
Muhammad. Yeah.
You seriously did the DevOps Pro one, but for jobs wise, it's looking it's a bit hard. What would you advise after doing the certificates?
To get the DevOps Pro?
No, I'm saying after completing it, what do you advise, like for getting a job and etc. Like
after getting a job,
I mean like for getting a job. What do you advise?
After getting the DevOps Pro?
Yeah.
Like I always tell students, just keep applying every day. With the DevOps Pro, you have to highlight it in your resume. Put it in your certifications page. I'll put it on the top, right? I'll say, DevOps Pro certified, Solutions Architect certified. I'll put it at the top. But look at my template resume. Use that and start applying every day. Having that, will make, some recruiters that are filtering by DevOps Pro certifications, yours will be up there. From now on, once you put that in your resume, right? It'll be able to detect that this person has DevOps Pro, and then it'll put you up front in the list. So once you get your DevOps Pro, that's a great, milestone that has been achieved. Just start applying every day.
The thing is, because many people are saying that the certificates are nothing, they're not that useful, etc. So
for DevOps Pro,
yeah, the certificates in general, like they're not that useful if you haven't got experience.
If you have no experience, yeah, that's why one thing I always say to you guys is, a lot of people might, just read the books, watch the videos, and not do hands-on. And again, that's one of the reasons for these sessions, right? But obviously, we're not in DevOps yet, and inshallah, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're gonna be doing Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, we're gonna be learning Docker and Kubernetes hands-on. Remember these sessions, because I get a lot of messages from people like, yes, I have the cert, but I don't have hands-on. I don't know what to. So all of these guys, all of these weeks, put them on your resume as projects, right? I hosted a database application. I hosted a static website. List those. I might not have those on my template resume, but guys, just put projects. You did this hands-on, right? And put those in there. And again, for the hands-on, what I can advise so far is, yes, some of you might have, been able to pass the exams. For hands-on, list these hands-on that we're doing, right? And then apply to those jobs and start to build that confidence. If you're not doing this hands-on, you're going to have that confidence, right? Yes, you're able to watch videos, read the notes, read the blog posts and all that and pass the exam. But without this, you wouldn't gain that confidence, right? And again, there's something that I share with you guys here based on real life, experience and all that will be helpful for you in those interviews and all that. So Muhammad, in answering your questions, I mean, follow this hands-on. List all of these that we're doing every week. As you can see, they're all hands-on. List them on your resume as projects. Again, make sure you're taking my template resume as a reference, right? Use everything in there. Put all of this. Again, as you all know, I'm very big on just put what you know how to do, guys. Do not lie on your resume. You guys know I'm always big on that, right? Always be truthful and be honest in everything that you do. And trust me, you'll find good things come your way. I know some people say, lie about years of experience and all that. If you know me in the community, you know that this is one thing I always say for my students to stay away from. Okay, I started from zero, right? And I try to stay away from like saying, I have 5 years experience and then when I don't, right? A lot of people do that because they say if you don't do that, well, employers will not look at your resume and things like, don't do that, right? Be honest, be truthful, list all of this, follow all of this advice that I'm giving you, and trust me, someday something will work out. Okay, someday something will work out. I know some of my non-Muslims will not understand this, but for those who understand, inna Allaha ma'as sadiqin. Okay, it just means that God is with those that are truthful. Okay, so guys, that's my advice. Okay, just if you get the Muhammad, I know I've been going back and forth, but does that answer your question a little bit? Does that make sense?
It perfectly does, mashallah. Thank you so much.
Okay, okay. All right, you're welcome. All right, let me see. Did I miss something? I'm preparing for my AWS subs. Okay, that's good. Any advice? Go for it. Hiba, do you already have your solutions architect associate? That's the one I always advise first, right?